She said it lightly, almost cheerfully, as if excluding me were a small scheduling detail instead of a judgment on my entire life as a mother. I didn't defend myself or ask what she meant by the good ones. I just smiled and told her I understood. But that night, sitting alone with a calendar full of empty dates, I realized some silences aren't about acceptance, they're about deciding what you will no longer tolerate. If your own child quietly erased you from a day meant to honor mothers, what would that force you to confront about yourself? I didn't tell anyone how much those words stayed with me after the call ended, because at my age you learn that explaining pain doesn't always make it lighter. Mother's Day had always been complicated between my daughter and me, not openly hostile, just quietly strained in a way that never healed. I raised her mostly on my own after her father left, working long hours, missing school events, telling myself that providing stability was another form of love even when it didn't look gentle. As she grew older, our conversations became more careful, more filtered, like we were both afraid of saying the wrong thing and confirming some unspoken disappointment. When she said they were celebrating with just the good ones, I wondered when I had crossed the invisible line from imperfect mother to inconvenient reminder. That evening I took out an old photo album, the kind no one looks at anymore, and flipped through pictures of her as a child, gap-toothed smiles, handmade cards, scribbled notes calling me the best mom in the world. I tried to pinpoint the moment when that certainty disappeared, when love became something measured and ranked. I told myself she was busy, that adulthood changes perspectives, that children grow and separate the way they're supposed to, but the truth was harder to admit. I had spent years trying to earn a place I thought was guaranteed, apologizing for choices I made while surviving, shrinking my own story so hers could feel cleaner. The days leading up to Mother's Day passed quietly, no plans, no expectations, just a growing awareness that I had been waiting for validation from someone who no longer knew how to give it. I watched neighbors receive flowers and cards, heard coworkers talk about brunch reservations, and felt a familiar ache that wasn't jealousy so much as grief for a role I no longer knew how to occupy. I didn't want revenge or pity, I just wanted to understand what it meant to be a mother when your child decides you don't fit the celebration anymore. On the morning of Mother's Day, I woke up early and made coffee for one, sitting at the kitchen table as sunlight filled the room, and for the first time I asked myself a question I'd avoided for years: if I stopped trying to prove I was a good mother, who would I be allowed to become instead, and whether stepping back might reveal something about both of us that constant reaching never had. I spent that Mother's Day differently than I ever had before, not waiting for a call that might not come, not checking my phone for signs of acknowledgement, but letting the day unfold without expectation. I went for a long walk through a nearby neighborhood where families were gathering, children holding flowers, older women laughing softly at outdoor tables, and instead of feeling excluded, I felt strangely detached, like I was observing a ritual I no longer needed to participate in to understand my worth. I treated myself to lunch at a small cafe, ordered dessert without justification, and realized how rarely I had allowed myself to be cared for without earning it first. In the afternoon, my daughter texted a short message wishing me a happy Mother's Day. No apology, no explanation, just a polite gesture that felt more like closure than connection. I stared at the screen for a long time before responding, and when I did, I kept it simple. Thank you. I hope you're well. It wasn't passive-aggressive, it was honest. In the weeks that followed, something shifted in me. I stopped initiating conversations out of obligation and started choosing when and how I wanted to show up. I filled my time with things I had postponed for years: a painting class, volunteer work, quiet dinners with people who knew me as I was now, not just as someone's mother. When my daughter eventually noticed the change and asked if something was wrong, I told her the truth without accusation. I said I was learning how to be present in my own life, and that stepping back had helped me see myself more clearly. She didn't know how to respond, and that was okay. Some realizations don't arrive as apologies or reconciliations, they arrive as distance that teaches both sides something necessary. I didn't stop being her mother that day, but I stopped measuring my value by whether I was included in someone else's celebration. Motherhood, I learned, doesn't end when the applause stops. Sometimes it matures into something quieter, something that no longer asks to be chosen in order to exist, and that quiet was where I finally found peace.